Alicia Jacobs, and I'm part of the Premier Learning team. The implementation of Common Core learning standards across New York State has directed the spotlight on inquiry-based learning and critical thinking. For students, inquiry is fundamental experience to learning about ways in which the world works. It empowers students to develop deep questions, explore new discoveries, and construct meaning and build knowledge. The Empire State Information Fluency Continuum, built around the Stripling model of inquiry, presents a K-12 continuum of information literacy skills aligned to Common Core learning standards. The alignment was accomplished by unpacking each of the standards and teasing out the skills that must be mastered by students to reach that standard. As is the Common Core learning standards, the skills of the ESIFC, the Empire State Information Fluency Continuum, are scaffolded across grade levels. Today, the ESIFC is a School Library System Association of New York State endorsed tool that is an integral part of Engage New York. The next phase for implementation of the ESIFC and Common Core learning standards is to develop instructional tools, supporting products, and digital collateral that will enable teachers and students around New York State to understand how to connect and the content of the classroom with the process skills of the ESIFC and Common Core. The Premier Learning team worked to address the statewide initiative that impacts teaching and learning in the classroom and library, focusing on the social studies inquiry. It was our vision to develop the ESIFC as an app or develop digital learning tools to enable the access to the ESIFC on mobile devices, as well as having it accessible through the web that supports instruction at the district level, school level, and ultimately in the individual classroom.
So when I think about what the team set out to achieve, we came to some consensus to that as a team, and ultimately our goal was that we wanted to create a technology tool to be used across New York State that would promote the integration of the IFC into everyday social studies instruction. Although we had to think about and we brainstormed different ways that might look or the different avenues that we could take, we did have consensus around ultimately that's what we wanted to do. Now the purpose of our technology tool is that we wanted to have a resource readily available to librarians, to teachers, that would make explicit the connections between the New York State Social Studies Framework, the toolkit project that came out of the state work with the framework, as well as with the inquiry process. One thing that we've learned in looking at the materials that have been distributed around the social studies framework and the toolkit project is it isn't necessarily clear what skills need to be taught to deliver the content and exactly how to teach the students to develop those skills. Skills such as evaluating websites, skills such as being able to distinguish between multiple perspectives, skills such as gathering information and evidence from primary sources. Although those are part of the toolkit and the framework, there wasn't necessarily a place that made it explicit how to teach those skills. We know that those skills are an integral part of the IFC, and so if we could create a tool that would connect all of those different pieces, it can and will be of real benefit to the students and teachers across New York State. Any school librarian can tell you that any tool that's out there, if it isn't accessible, if it isn't easy, if it isn't clear, unfortunately, more times than not, it doesn't necessarily get used. So in the back of our minds, as we thought about how to create this tool and to make it accessible to the states, to the districts across the state, we really wanted it to be something that makes it clear and easy for teachers and librarians to use. We also wanted to create a tool we feel that would promote collaboration between social studies, classroom, and librarians, which would ultimately empower the school librarian not just to be seen as someone who delivers materials, but someone who can co-teach and deliver instruction in developing valuable 21st century skills. If we ask ourselves, well, did we succeed in this goal? The answer would be yes. We did create a website Although different from the app, it is still a valuable technology tool. This website aligns clearly the framework, the toolkit, and the IFC. And we know that this is something that is just a starting point, and we will continue to work and grow and develop this website. I would say in terms of another success was that we were able, an unexpected success perhaps, was that we were able to build stronger relationships with each other, with other SLISA directors, and then within our own organizations. In fact, by modeling the kind of collaboration that we would like to see happening in school libraries and classrooms, we were able to speak to the real power that happens when collaboration occurs between librarians and social studies, and combining the social studies skills and the inquiry process. So we were able to do that within our organizations, and that I would say was an unexpected success as well.
We had a few challenges as we started doing our project. One of the challenges was that we didn't have the technological ability that we need to be able to actually create an app. We set out hoping to come up with an IFC app that would make it more user-friendly for people, but we found out that between all of us, none of us really knew how to make that happen. So there was a lot of frustration at first trying to figure out where to go with that once we realized that the app wasn't going to happen. But one of our successes was that we did figure out that we really wanted a user-friendly version of the IFC, and it didn't necessarily have to be an app. First, we needed to develop it into something that was user-friendly, that was web-based, and I think we figured out that the first step was to have the website, and the next step will be to have the app. Another challenge that we had was we didn't have a lot of face-to-face time, so it made it hard to really get down and figure things out. We tried to work collaboratively. We did a lot of conference calling, but there's nothing like being together and being able to figure things out and really sort through and focus on a common goal. When I look back on what we did, we would probably change how we focused on the app for a long time at first. Instead of focusing on how we're going to make the app and trying to figure out how the app would look and how are we going to actually make the app, instead of spending time doing that, we should have focused right away when we realized that we didn't know how to make an app. We should have focused on the fact that we needed a website and spent more time laying out what that would look like, as well as figuring out exactly if we were targeting librarians or social studies teachers, or just being a little more targeted would have been helpful.
Hello, my name is Alicia Thompson, and I'm the School Library System Director for Erie 1 BOCES. I will be responding to 2 questions. Question number 7. Do you think the project can be used by any library anywhere? Well, the project was envisioned by our team, Team Premier, with the intent of providing a cooperative resource sharing tool. The ideology was that the Empire State Information Fluency Continuum tool would be a gateway to a global village which would provide all school librarians in New York State and their building colleagues with available internet connection, the effortless and simple access to teaching inquiry strategies and providing assessment resources that are already available. Additionally, the resources can be easily modified and referenced. The project's goal was to bring awareness of an already existing tool with the sole purpose that this was to be used by school librarians and their colleagues everywhere. Question number 8. Do you want libraries to replicate this project, build on it, or redo it from scratch? Well, our team's overarching aspiration is that by using what we've already created and contributed, that other school librarians will be able to replicate and benefit from our contributions. We hope that our team's work will allow others to take advantage of the collaborative tools that we have worked on with one another, have a deeper understanding of the Empire State Information Fluency Continuum tool, and demonstrate their readiness skills to effectively use this academic and technological tool to make connections to meaningful skills that are necessary for student learning. To redo this from scratch would be an unfortunate use of time. There's a solid base to continue forward from, and my team and I would like to see that that is still what can be done so that it can come to its true fruition. Is there room for another team to revisit some parts of it? Well, sure. But to redo it from scratch, my teammates and I would strongly advise against it. It'd be a painstaking waste of resources, time, and from our strong contribution from a field of expertise.
What are the top 3 resources that we've developed? First and foremost, it is the digital platform website we created in Weebly. Second, the alignment of the inquiry phases, the skills of the Empire State Information Fluency Continuum, the social studies practices, and the Common Core learning standards. Third, it's the partnerships throughout New York State with social studies teachers and curriculum leaders. What are our next steps? We like to take the work of the Empire State Information Fluency Continuum and the Premier Learning Team and share them with the School Library System Association, as well as social studies leaders and administrators across New York State. The SLIS organization, School Library System Association of New York State, is going to work to develop the inquiries further, developing additional resources, best practices, and capturing that on the digital platform that we've developed in using Weebly. What are the top 3 resources that we've developed? First and foremost, it is the digital platform website we created in Weebly. Second, the alignment of the inquiry phases, the skills of the Empire State Information Fluency Continuum, the social studies practices, and the Common Core learning standards. Third, it's the partnerships throughout New York State with social studies teachers and curriculum leaders. What are our next steps? We like to take the work of the Empire State Information Fluency Continuum and the Premier Learning Team and share them with the School Library System Association, as well as social studies leaders and administrators across New York State. The SLIS organization, School Library System Association of New York State, is going to work to develop the inquiries further, developing additional resources, best practices, and capturing that on the digital platform that we've developed in using Weebly.